Everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, do subscribe to my channel and also press the bell icon down there so that you never miss out any of my videos. So in today's lesson we're gonna look on verbs. Trust me, verbs are actually the most or one of the most important topics in English. Everything that you study in English has its own importance, but especially verbs. With verbs, I'm being more particular or specific that verbs are very important. And in this lesson, I'll be explaining basically what are verbs. What are verbs? It's actually clear to us. Now, what's the difference between a helping verb and a be verb? And what are be verbs and their types and what they actually do in a sentence. So we are going to look ahead on that. But before moving ahead, let me ask you a question. Just try to think of anyone that you know, whether it's a doctor, any kind of person that is doing a work, or even your sibling, and just try to note that what they are doing at this time. Watching television, cooking food, or just reading a newspaper. Try to think of it and then comment down below. And what they are doing. This tells us that an action is being performed by them, right? An action is being performed by them. So whatever they are doing is actually a verb. For example, I'm speaking, you are listening, you are watching, I'm demonstrating, I'm explaining, and whether you're sitting or standing, that's also a verb, and I'm sitting, that's also a verb. In all these sentences, the words like sit, explain, speak, hear, these all tell us that an action is being performed. So verbs are actually pretty much clear to us because it's a very easy topic and with also quite important. So verbs are basically the words that tells us that an action is being performed. Now verbs are clear to us. Let's move ahead on the second thing. Now I'm gonna speak two sentences and then tell me what is doing in both of these sentences. He is watching television, and in the second sentence, he is a good boy. Now in the first sentence, let's come on the first sentence. He is watching television. In this sentence, what is doing over here? Quite obvious, it's a helping verb. Now let's come on the second sentence. He is a good boy. What is doing over here? A helping verb? No, it's a be verb. Now what are be verbs? But before moving ahead on be verbs, just let me make you clear that be verb or helping verbs or all these like is, am, are, was, were, they tell us that when the action is being performed. For example, he is. Just now let's frame the same sentence with different helping verbs. For example, the first one, he is watching television. This tells us that at this moment he is watching. He was watching television. This tells us that at some point in past he was watching television, and he will watch the television. This tells us that in future, we don't know at what time, but he will watch television. So basically, from all these observations, we can actually see that is, was, will. Basically, this be verbs or in these sentences they are used as helping verbs. So now let us be clear for that what are be verbs and what are helping verbs. Before moving ahead on that, let's go on the previous question. So basically, is, was, will, they are telling that when the action is being performed. So what they tell? The time of the action, that when it was being performed. Now let's come on the main topic. Helping verb and be verb. What is the difference between them? So now the second sentence that I told you, he is a good boy and he is watching television. Can you see one change in both of these sentences? Just think of yourself. I'm giving you 3 seconds. Now let me tell you. What you have to do is that what I did basically was that in the first sentence, is actually telling something about the main verb. What is the main verb? He is watching television. Watching is the main verb, right? Watching is the main verb, obviously. So he is actually doing work for watching. And in the second sentence, is doing any work for main verb. What is the main verb in the second sentence? Nothing. There's just a be verb. So that's the basic difference. So like in the first one I said that there is a helping verb, and the second one there is a be verb. So what is the difference between a helping verb and a main verb is that a helping verb tells something about the main verb, basically the time. And coming on to the be verb, so be verb doesn't tell us the time or something about the main verb. Actually, there's no main verb in those sentences in which be verb is there. If there's a main verb, then it will be considered as a helping verb. So quite confusing to listen at the first time, but trust me, this is the difference between both of these. They are just the same, but in what way they are used, that makes a difference. So helping verbs are those that tell us something about the main verb, basically the time. And coming on to the be verb, so be verb tells us nothing. Be verbs tell us nothing about the main verb. Actually, there is no main verb. Now let's come on the be verbs. In present, in past, and in future, all three forms are different. Now I'm pretty sure that you all must be familiar with the forms of verbs like eat, ate, eaten. Eat is the first form, also known as the infinitive form of the verb eat. Ate is the second form, and eaten is the past participle form. Eat, ate, eaten. Watch, watched, watched. And this watch is the first form, watched the second one. Let me take a different example for this. But before taking an example, let me tell you that there are some irregular verbs, and in irregular verbs, the way they are actually made in other two forms is different. For example, the first one, eat, ate, eaten. See, saw, seen. They both are irregular. You can actually see. Let's compare basically the verb see, S-E-E, and the verb watch. So see and watch. You know what watch? Let me tell you one more thing, that watch is used when you're watching something. Like you're watching a movie, you're watching a video, you're watching a television, or watching Netflix. But when you see is something that you use for actually natural objects. I'll be having different shorts for these. I'll be having shorts for these differences, for differentiating between all these. So go ahead and watch my shorts as well. Now let's come back on the irregular verbs and regular verbs. Regular verbs have the same way of making them in different two forms. For example, watch. Watch, watch, watched. In this we are just adding a ed at the end. Same with the verb cook, cook, cooked, cooked, right? But when it comes to irregular verbs, every irregular verb is being made in other two forms in a different way. For example, eat, ate, eaten. Eat, the first verb or the infinitive form, is different. Second verb, eat, ate, we are not adding ed at the end, right? The one in which we add ed at the end are called irregular verbs, and in the one in which we do not add ed at the end to make them in other two forms are called irregular verbs. Irregular verbs have different patterns, so you have to learn them. And eat, ate, eaten, see, saw, seen. And these verbs are actually very important because in different tenses you use different forms. Like in simple present, you use the first form, but when it comes to simple past, second form. when it comes to any perfect form, whether it's future or of like a present perfect, past perfect, or future perfect, you use the third form. So it's actually very important to go through all of these forms. Now it's clear there for 3 forms of verbs. So basically that was also, I guess that was also clear that where now I was explaining that the be verb, basically the be verb changes its form. So basically the present, past and future, it is also a kind of irregular verb, but I guess irregular verb. So they, in present we use is, am or are, and trust me, they all are used with different nouns and pronouns. In nouns it's just the same. With singular one you have to use is, with plural one you have to use are. Now let's come on the pronouns. With I you use am, only and only with I. Trust me, only and only with I you use am. With he, she, it you use is. With we, they, you. I know that it sounds quite odd to listen that even with you, if the person listening to us is a singular one, then also we'll use you. Yes, you will use. It's a standard English grammar rule that always and always you use a plural form of verb, be verb form. Basically the form of be verb, plural form of be verb with you. So am only with I, he, she, it with is, and you, we, they with are. Now let's come on the past one, like eat, ate, eaten. So it also has, in the first one is, am, are, in the second one was, were. In was, were, it's very simple. With singular ones we use was, and then with the plural ones we use were. And mind that standard English grammar rule. With you one, with you actually use were. You were doing that verb, I remember you were, and I hope that you were watching my video. You are watching my video. Next one, will, shall. Shall is used only and only with I and we, but nowadays you won't listen anyone using shall with I. Actually shall is nowadays quite outdated. So you will hear most of the times people using I will, we will. If with we it's actually okay, but with I it's a standard English grammar rule, you should use shall, but no one actually cares of that. So you can use I will. Even I use I will more rather than I shall, and I shall I don't use I shall. Even I use I will, but just for information it can be a knowledge. So with I and we shall, with all other, whether it's a plural or a singular, doesn't matter, you have to use will. So hopefully this lesson was helpful for you, and just hit the like button and do subscribe to my channel. Now see you in the next video. By the way, I'll be having the next video on the topic of adjectives. Tell me that on what other topics you want me to make a video. I'll be surely having a video on those topics as well. Bye bye, see you in the next video.